I have already received a spoiler from the system. According to the system's spoiler plot, EQ will connect with the Kai family at the mall today. It's already 3:55. In a few minutes, they will go down the escalator. EQ is following behind someone like a dog. Later, when old man Kai goes up the escalator, he is about to take action. First, secretly calculate against old man Kai. Let him have an episode and fall down the escalator. Rescue old Kai again to gain some goodwill. Win over the Kai family to deal with the wife family. Speaking of which, Sister Yun came today too. Tang Yu secretly complained while following EQ. At this moment, Tang Yu has disguised himself as a high school student. She even specially changed into a high school uniform. Tang Yu had just finished complaining. Yan Shishi forced a smile as she chatted with old Master Kai. Suddenly widened his eyes. He looked around. I'm sure this familiar voice is Tang Yu, because only Tang Yu would call him Yun Jai. The immense amount of information in this statement left him somewhat shocked. He instinctively glanced at the large artwork hanging on the mall wall. The time above is exactly 3:55. He had heard it from his best friend before. Tang Yu can change his appearance. Several times I helped him from the shadows. Could it be that he has disguised himself today as well? After the three people got on the escalator, EQ, carrying a shopping bag, followed after. He stood tightly behind old Master Kai, holding a silver needle in hand. According to his plan, later just need to flick this silver needle into a certain acupoint of the old man. He will fall off the escalator, and the heart is stimulated, causing chest pain. After a cold laugh in my heart, EQ then prepared to take action. Noticing his movement, Tang Yu decisively took action, keeping about 3 meters behind EQ. He manipulated an invisible air whip. After bypassing EQ, he gave old Kai's rear end 2 taps, even to increase the sense of reality. He specially shaped the end of the invisible whip into a round form. After these 2 strikes connect, the force was just right. With a hint of lewdness, old Master Kai was chatting with Yun Shi about some old amusing stories. Suddenly felt something poke me twice on the backside. His old face turned slightly red with indifference. Old Master Kai swallowed nervously. Couldn't help but look back for a moment. Only then did I realize that someone was standing behind me. He is a good-looking young man. Just as EQ was about to make a move, the old man suddenly turned around. Startled, he quickly hid the silver needle. My finger got pricked again. It turns out we are kindred spirits. But I didn't expect you would be interested in an old guy like me. This young man has good taste. Old Master Kai secretly thought to himself, Old Master Kai has a deeply hidden hobby. That's just messing around. But in that conservative era, how could he dare to share his interests with others? So he endured it all. Focus all your energy on your career. This endurance has lasted until today. He finally lost control. The old tree has welcomed spring. Old Master Kai silently called out in his heart. He even couldn't help but lean back a little. It's convenient for this young man, who fell in love at first sight, to take action. EQ also realized something was wrong. I haven't done anything yet. Why does this old guy look so inexplicably happy? Tang Yu also noticed the unusual behavior of old Master Kai. But with his insight, I didn't expect this old guy to be into this. Instead, I thought this old guy was too ashamed to speak up. So he chose to intensify his efforts. EQ, this shameless person. Surprisingly, I like the old man. When you feel the momentum. Tang Yu still couldn't help but sully EQ's name in her heart. as long as you repeat it in your heart a few more times. This is equivalent to not having done it oneself. The man dressed up as the villain from the novel. I intended to secretly sabotage the relationship between the male lead and Elder Kai. Unexpectedly, I ended up doing the opposite, gained some favor with Yi Qiu. As the plot unfolds, after Master Kai finished his meal, he rested for a while, going to take Yi Qiu to the bath again. In the bathhouse, Yi Qiu accidentally discovered something wrong with Kai Zinhen's device, then proposed to help him with treatment. Quickly connected with Kai Zinhan, conquer all the core figures of the Kai family, ran to the bathhouse behind. Tang Yu managed to get a full set of staff uniforms. Preparations have been completed. Begin to wait for rabbits by the stump here. Waited for about half an hour. As expected, Yi Qiu and his group arrived. After the three people walked into the steaming hot spring and soaked in, Tang Yu, now disguised as a middle-aged man. A staff member in uniform walked in from outside. He is holding a large box in his hand. Inside, there were over 30 cans of beer. Brothers, let me introduce you to a grapefruit juice beer. This is a newly launched product. Everyone can enjoy a free sample of 1 can. If you think it's okay, we look forward to your continued patronage. After calling out a few times, soon everyone's attention in the bathhouse was drawn to Tang Yu. Yi Qiu is quite interested in free things. He smiled and nodded, then looked at Kai Lieji and asked, "Old man, you all drink up." Old man, Kai smiled and nodded. "Don't you want to drink a bit more to help your heart?" "I don't have the qualifications to further my relationship with my friend Yi Qiu." Tang Yu felt a secret joy in her heart. "And him 3 bottles of beer." But at the moment I took the beer, Yi Qiu deliberately brushed his fingernail against Tang Yu's hand. This is a tracking technique he learned from the old Dragon King. Apply a certain medicinal solution to a fingernail. Once the target is encountered, I can follow the scent to track the target, to uncover the hidden truth behind my own mouse. Yi Qiu has now used all his skills. After delivering the beer, Tang Yu glanced back, seeing Yi Qiu and the others soaking in the hot spring. Only then did he feel relieved. Smiling, she left the bath and went outside to hide, preparing to watch the fun. It's gotten out of hand. He is unfortunate that Kaijaya can still connect with Yi Qiu. Old Master Kai smiled meaningfully, reached out to embrace Yi Qiu's shoulder. "Stay at my house tonight. Tomorrow let's have a good drink together, just the 2 of us. The old man has said so. Then I will risk my life to accompany the noble man." Yi Qiu laughed heartily. He still doesn't understand that the old man wants him to sit on the footstone. Otherwise, they would definitely resort to violence. After downing a bottle of slightly chilled beer, old Master Kai suddenly felt a bit uncomfortable in his stomach. "I just want to walk out of the pool to go to the bathroom." He moved. The primal force within me started to take control. The body trembled suddenly. The yellow water column shut out. Yi Qiu, who had deliberately turned his head, was caught off guard and got hit on the head. After the first loud sound rang out, Elder Kai has completely lost control over the expansion contract. The herbal essence in the beer filled his intestines with strength. It's just a fraction of a second. 2 yellow water columns shot out again. "I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. You shouldn't push me so hard." Old Master Kai let out a terrible scream, chose to crouch down with the gun pointed at the ground, to avoid continuing to harm others. Kicks in hand, dry heaved twice in despair. Quickly climb up, but he also finished a can of sweet fish honey beer. It's just because of better physical fitness. The herbal essence in the beer is just starting to take effect. If he were a bit faster, at least I can still rush into the bathroom. But he was too anxious. As he climbed onto the shore, his foot slipped and he fell to the ground. Suddenly, two loud splashes echoed. When have the others in the bathhouse seen such a grand scene? One by one, they were so scared that their faces turned pale as they desperately ran ashore. But many of them drank the free beer provided by Tang Yu. Soon the entire bathhouse was filled. The sound of splashing echoed everywhere. EQ immediately reacted. It's the beer that's the problem. After realizing, EQ was immediately furious. That damn stinky old rat really came again. He rushed out of the bathhouse, anger surging within him. Following the scent intentionally left on the other person, I chased out of the bathhouse for about 300 meters. I spotted the jerk in a staff uniform delivering beer to them. At this moment, Tang Yu has just come out of the bathhouse not long ago. After discovering that the herbal essence was effective, he ran off without saying a word. Suddenly, many passers-by gasped in surprise. Tang Yu instinctively turned to take a glance. Suddenly, EQ came rushing up from behind wearing a big pair of shorts. The man dressed like the villain from the novel. The people at the bathhouse just gave him a laxative. The male lead discovered her right away. EQ was furious. I chased after them, following the scent I had deliberately left on them. Seeing EQ's fierce killing intent and the lingering heat on his body, Tang Yu ran away without saying a word, attempting to maximize the Jin Hong new longbow technique to increase speed and create distance. The two figures weave through the streets as the girl pursues me. It scared quite a few passers-by. EQ shouted angrily and clenched his fist, striking fiercely at Tang Yu's back. With this punch, he unleashed his full potential. Fortunately, I am protected by the immovable underworld king's bow. This punch didn't injure Tang Yu. Tang Yu suddenly stopped after taking two punches. After absorbing and converting the power of the previous 3 punches, he threw a powerful punch with intent. EQ quickly crossed his hands over his chest to shield himself from the danger. After blocking this punch in this way, EQ stepped back 3 full paces before he could counterattack. The passive ability of Tang Yu has been triggered from the Ren battle. 2 swift punches, like lightning, were thrown deliberately. The speed of the 2 punches is truly astonishing. EQ desperately blocked and then took several steps back. A trace of caution flashed in his eyes. The lethal force of these 3 punches. At least it has to be a mid-tier Tianzi mirror to have it. In this way, he could be certain of one thing. That person must not be a sugar fish. EQ angrily laughed. With a surge of true energy, I charged forward to engage Tang Yu in battle. Then he suddenly felt a surge of primal power about to erupt uncontrolledly. But seeing the sugarfish trying to escape, EQ was once again overwhelmed by anger. He can no longer afford to go to the bathroom. It has come to this. No matter what, we have to hold on to this bastard and kill him. After the 2 sides fought for a full 5 minutes, EQ finally couldn't hold on anymore. He has already collapsed from exhaustion. Seize this excellent opportunity. Tang Yu kicked EQ's calf, kicked the exhausted EQ to the ground. Then he rushed up and started throwing punches at EQ. Then he smiled and took out a pair of scissors. Pretend to be about to make a move. EQ, realizing what happened, turned pale with fright. Suddenly shouted loudly. He just finished shouting. Suddenly, sirens blared from the street ahead. After seeing the police car arrive, Tang Yu turned around and ran without saying a word. But the video of the 2 people fighting. But it was captured by passers-by and posted online in just half an hour. The video has accumulated over 10 million views. Lu Junjuo was resting in a hotel room, drinking coffee. After seeing this video push, I almost laughed myself to death on the spot. Hurry and download the video to save it. Then he suddenly remembered a question. With Tang Xiao's disguise technique, there shouldn't be any reason for Yi Qiu to find out. There must be a problem. After thinking it over, he quickly called Tang Yu to come over. Half an hour later, there was a knock at the door. He hurriedly ran to open the door. Seeing the Tang Yu standing at the door, I respectfully said, "Tang Xiao, thank you for your hard work today. It's not too hard. It's just a bit disgusting. Be careful. Yi Qiu is already one of the 7 guardians in the Tianzi mirror." Lu Junjuo widened his eyes. After entering the heavenly mirror, he knows very well how difficult it is to elevate to a higher realm. "Tang Xiao, please take a look at this video first." Lu Junjuo took out his phone and handed it to Tang Yu. "Share this happiness with him." After the two of them laughed for a long time, Lu Junjuo reminded again, "Tang Xiao, Yi Qiu has set his sights on you. He left a scent mark on you. You can't smell it because you haven't been trained." Lu Junjuo's nose twitched as he spoke, quickly locked onto Tang Yu's left hand. He pointed to the left hand of the sugar fish. "Has Yi Qiu ever touched your hand?" Tang Yu thought for a moment and nodded. "I only encountered them during fights. I bumped into him when I delivered the wine before." Lu Junjuo shared the information he knew, explained it carefully to Tang Yuzai. This unique tracking technique, only a few people in the Long-An organization know. How to remove that? Soaking it in vinegar for a while will do. Lu Junjuo called the hotel front desk. Soon, a staff member brought over a bottle of white vinegar, finally got rid of the scent left by Yi Qiu. He turned his eyes and darkly smiled. "Junjuo, can you blend this fragrance?" "Sure. Then you adjust it a bit later. Next time, bother him by putting it on your hands to grab his attention." "I really want to mess with this kid." Lu Junjuo's eyes lit up. "I think Tang Xiao really can't come up with any bad ideas." After Lu Junjuo left, Tang Yu silently recited in her heart, "Dog system. What about the reward?" The host successfully completed the storyline. Reward for improving cultivation by 1 level. The cold voice of the system immediately sounded. In just a few seconds, the cultivation of Tang Yu has risen from the early stage of the Tianzi mirror to the mid-stage. The mad has just transformed into the villain from the novel. Let the male lead echo throughout the streets, even captured by passers-by in short videos and posted online. The other victims in the bathhouse were also sent to the hospital for treatment. Their arrival, it made the entire floor of the hospital unbearable with the smell. The worst of it is still Lord Kai, due to old age. He pulled until his legs were too weak to walk, but it's said to have lost my friend Yi Qiu. At that moment, he was in deep pain and self-blame. A pale-faced man pushed open the ward door and walked in. Seeing Yi Qiu actually come to find me, old Master Kai was so excited that tears filled his eyes. Yi Qiu hurriedly walked over and held old Master Kai's hand in concern. "Take out a bottle." He poured out a black pill from inside and handed it to Elder Kai. "Old Master Kai, here is a pill, you should take it first. It belongs to Gu Benpei Yuan." Seeing Yi Qiu care for me like this, old Master Kai was overjoyed in his heart. Yi Qiu tossed a pill to Kai Zinhen, who was resting in the adjacent bed. After sending out both pills, Yi Qiu spoke. "Old Master, today this is actually caused by me." Yi Qiu explained the situation in detail. Without hesitation, He threw the pot onto the Tangyu's body. After Yi Qiu finished speaking, old Master Kai's general guess. It's hard to say if this is related to the one called Tangyu, but he definitely has a grudge against Yi Qiu. So, in terms of feelings and reasoning, he must help his friend Yi Qiu. Okay, is it about real estate? Turn back and let someone else deal with them. Yi Qiu smiled faintly. Today, although I suffered a big loss, the matter of uniting the Kai family was still successful. Since the Wei family lost two burdens, Wei Yancheng's mood has always been quite poor. After having dinner, the private doctor of the Wei family ran in happily and shouted, "Mr. Wei, as per your request, we have found 50 young people willing to donate their burdens." After Wei Yancheng had the surgery to remove the Bluetooth earphones last time, took out 10 million to find enthusiastic young people willing to donate their efforts. Under the magic of money, there are indeed quite a few young people who are desperate enough to give it a try. Hearing that it's the burden of a young man, Wei Yancheng instantly felt an overwhelming sense of anticipation. If this is replaced, a cleaner near the Wei family gate silently sent a text message. Meanwhile, Ikkeu's phone vibrated slightly while he was resting in a hotel. Ikkeu let out a cold laugh, put on shoes and get ready to go out. He left the hotel with a dark expression and rode his electric scooter to a certain intersection to wait, holding a specially made silver needle in hand. Waited for about 20 minutes. The Rolls-Royce that Wei Yancheng was riding in finally appeared in his sight. Two black sedans followed behind. The car is filled with Wei Yancheng's bodyguards. He silently crouched by the roadside waiting. At that moment, the red light at the intersection turned on. Wei Yancheng's vehicle came to a stop. EQ's gaze locked onto the large truck coming from another lane. Once the large truck had driven a sufficient distance, he snapped his fingers. The silver needle filled with steam pierced into the front tire, exploding on impact. The speeding truck lost control on the spot. I collided with Wei Yancheng's vehicle. After this, Rolls-Royce was hit from the side, rolled a few times and crashed into the utility pole. I almost crashed into the utility pole. The driver and the doctor sitting in the front row died on the spot. With the efforts of several bodyguards, finally opened the door of the Rolls-Royce. They dragged the bloodied Wei Yancheng out of the car, sent to the hospital for emergency treatment. The Wei family learned that Wei Yancheng had gotten into trouble again. Everyone rushed to the hospital to wait. After waiting for a long 4 hours, the rescue operation has finally come to an end. Wei Yancheng, who was originally on the brink of death, was saved in time. Life has been saved, but his injuries are too severe. After a group of experts' desperate rescue efforts, ultimately it ended with paralysis in the lower body. Even both of his calves were amputated. When Wei Yancheng woke up, he learned about the condition of his body. Immediately sent someone to the scene to investigate. The outcome turned out to be an accident. The man dressed like the villain from the novel. The male lead successfully earned the title of Jet Warrior. So they shifted the blame for their wrongdoings onto the Wei family. EQ seeks revenge to settle his grudges. Caused a traffic accident. This led to Wei Yancheng's paralysis in the lower half of his body. After this heavy blow, Wei Yancheng became much clearer-headed. Immediately pointed the spear at EQ. A heavy thud echoes behind the hospital bed. Take this guy out for me. As long as the Wei family still exists, he can forget about getting by in Yanjing. Kai Jia lay in the hospital for a day and a night. Finally, old Master Kai and Kai Zinhai returned home. Yun Shishi glanced at the living room. Kai Zinhen, with a still pale complexion, sat on the sofa drinking tea. I saw him rubbing his stomach from time to time. Yan Shishi felt a bit schadenfreude in her heart. This bastard who bullies me all year round. Finally, it was his turn to have bad luck. According to his speculation, I know this is mostly done by Tang Yu's younger brother. Thought about it. He returned to his room and called Liu Ryan on his phone. Let her bring out Tang Yu's younger brother, treating oneself to a meal to show gratitude. Tang Yu has just parted ways with Liu Ruyan. I was pulled into the space of the divine tree. A little girl giggled and jumped onto Tang Yu. He pecked fiercely at his face a few times. The pigs raised at home are rooting through the cabbage so well. Can he not be happy? Tang Yu's gaze fell upon the snow-white fruit hanging from the divine tree. I haven't been here for a while. This snow-white fruit has grown a bit more. The patterns above have noticeably increased. When will this get better? Still need to keep working hard. The little dark-haired girl from the sacred tree chuckled mischievously, gazing sneakily towards the end of the divine tree space. As the power gradually increased, the heavenly path of the divine tree space has been firmly pushed to the edge. I've been a bit stronger lately than before. I can often pull you in. So when you go out later, could you help me buy some clothes at the mall? You see, I've been wearing this outfit for a long time. The little girl from the divine tree tugged at her clothes, looking a bit dissatisfied. Tang Yu nodded. After finishing with the children's clothing, I walked towards the women's clothing store. While he was carefully selecting his clothes, a beautiful woman just walked out from inside. Suddenly, I saw Tang Yu picking out clothes in the store. Lin Huangxi's face flickered with disbelief. Quickly go back to the fitting room and close the door. Should we go out to see him? Lin Huangxi, with a face like a peach blossom, began to ponder in her heart. But what does he come to the women's clothing store to buy? Is it for his girlfriend? Guest, how do you like these 3 dresses? Not bad. Please pack everything for me. You are really generous. Your sister is so lucky. I've never seen an older brother treat his younger sister so well, the female sales associate said with envy. Lin Huangxi, who was eavesdropping in the fitting room, heard this. My mood instantly brightened again. After the payment is completed, Tang Yu left the women's clothing store and shamelessly went back to that place. Lin Huangxi walked out of the fitting room, but found that Tang Yu had already disappeared. Lin Huangxi felt a surge of anxiety in his heart. Where did that gentleman just go? The female sales associate smiled and pointed to the Victoria's Secret across the street. Lin Huangxi immediately went outside to take a look. Upon seeing Tang Yu's silhouette, finally he let out a sigh of relief and took out his phone to make the payment. Then he planned to be ruthless and pretend to run into Tang Yu by chance. Lin Huangxi called out his name behind Tang Yu. Hearing someone call their name, Tang Yu turned around and realized it was Lin Huangxi. He glared. How did he end up here? Mom was also embarrassed. He shouldn't think I'm a weirdo. My brother has no interest in women's clothing. Miss Lin, I didn't expect to run into you here. My sister asked me to help her buy clothes. I don't understand these again. Why don't you help me choose? Half an hour later, Tang Yu and Lin Huangxi walked out of the store after completing their procurement task. The two walked to the elevator entrance. This super mall has more than 30 floors. At this moment, the two are on the 12th floor. But not long after, the elevator suddenly shook and came to a stop. Immediately, the lights in the elevator went out as well. The elevator became a pitch-black space. Only the floor display screen is still lit. It turned into a red thread. The man dressed up as the villain from the novel, when buying clothes for the spirit of the sacred tree, unexpectedly bumped into Lin Huangxi. To ease his discomfort, He asked for help picking out clothes. After the two walked out of the clothing store, they entered the elevator together. Unexpectedly, the elevator suddenly malfunctioned. Lin Huixi was startled. Tang Yu has never encountered something like this before in her life. It left him a bit puzzled. "Turn on the light with your phone." Lin Huixi pressed the emergency call button. After pressing it a few times, there was no response. Lin Huixi's voice began to tremble slightly. "If it weren't for Tang Yu being next to me, he is probably about to cry right now. I have an advantage phobia." Lin Huixi's teeth were chattering as he spoke. The grip on Tang Yu's hand gradually weakened. Seeing Lin Huixi in this state is really not good. Tang Yu quickly supported him. "He has already begun to develop a fever." Breathing became increasingly rapid. There are clear symptoms of excessive breathing. For someone with his condition, Tang Yu had learned a bit about it. There are several levels of superiority phobia. Slightly anxious and fearful. A serious situation like Lin Huixi's will occur. It could even be life-threatening. Seeing Lin Huixi on the brink of unconsciousness, Tang Yu could only lay him down flat in the elevator, preparing to treat him. Before long, the lights in the elevator suddenly came back on. Immediately after, the elevator shook slightly. The emergency call system of the elevator has also been restored. About 3 minutes later, the elevator finally started to descend slowly to the second basement parking lot. Tang Yu carried Lin Huixi out and drove him home. EQ returned home after staying at the hotel for a few days. Upon reaching the door of Lin Huixi's room, he focused his attention for a moment. Exert your exceptional listening skills. Listen to the sounds in the room. Soon he heard a faint, clumsy sound. EQ felt a bit depressed. He was feeling down and was just about to say it later. Suddenly, I heard a wave of dreamlike echoes. "Tang Xioran's family misses you. Please don't go, okay?" After hearing these few vague murmurs in the dream, EQ felt a rush of darkness and almost collapsed to the ground. His nails dug into the flesh. Hatred surged in his eyes. He rushed out of the Lin family and found a quiet place. He took out his phone and dialed Ji Jai's number. "Ji Shao, what happened before? Has there been any news from the investigator?" EQ on the other end of the phone tried hard to keep his tone calm. Ji Jai awkwardly smiled and said, "Yi Shao, the only clue we found last time was that he fought with you on the street. Afterwards, based on this person's escape route, we have been checking the surveillance all along. But this workload is quite large. There should be results within half a month. We will make a list then." Hearing Ji Jai's search strategy, EQ nodded, feeling somewhat satisfied. "What about the Seju and Hangzhou area?" "It shouldn't be difficult to go to the Tang family and capture a hostage. I have dispatched elite troops to Suhang. There will be news soon. Please rest assured, Yi Shao." Jeji replied with a smile. "Zhao Yun set out with his team 3 days ago. Yesterday I also replied to myself. The progress of the plan is going quite smoothly. Currently waiting for the right moment to act." After the phone call ended, Ji Jai sent another message to Huang Zhaoyan. "Zhao Yun, how is it over in Seju and Hangzhou? Yi Shao is urging me again." A few seconds later, Huang Zhaoyan just replied to a message. "Approaching the target, waiting for an opportunity. It seems I forgot to turn off the computer when I left. Can you go take a look for me? If it's not turned off, please turn it off for me." Zhao Yun returns to her room. "I always stand at the door. I have never been inside." Ji Jai was over the moon. After symbolically knocking on the door twice, carefully opened the door and stepped into Huang Zhaoyan's bedroom. The computer is currently in standby mode and has gone black. After pressing the keyboard twice, the screen slowly lit up. Ji-Jai curiously looked at the computer desktop. The computer desktop is a seaside view. I didn't see any games on the icons above. What concerns him is that a typing software is running in the taskbar below. Zhao Yun also enjoys writing. Help him save it before shutting down. Otherwise, if he loses what he writes later, he will definitely be angry. Ji-Jai found a perfect excuse for himself. Open the code writing software. After opening it, his gaze was drawn to the novel inside. The man dressed up as the villain from the novel. The male lead arranged for an assassin to deal with it, unexpectedly relying on the system's giant. Already brought the assassin under control and arranged a plan. Huang Zhaoyan sent a text message to Ji-Jai. Let him help turn off his computer. This made Ji-Jai incredibly happy, just as I walked into the room to turn off the computer. But unexpectedly, I was captivated by the novel in the document. The story begins with a female assassin, growing up in a notorious assassin family in an underground world. Due to exceptional talent, he has never missed a shot since his debut, until one day someone placed an order for him. Let him go assassinate a pervert with the surname Tang. This time he missed. Not only did the assassination attempt fail, but they were also taken advantage of by the other side. There were 2 more assassination attempts later on, still unable to succeed, until the 4th time. He teamed up with his powerful fiancée. I thought this time it would definitely work out. Unexpectedly, he was careless and fell into the opponent's hands and was taken away. Even though her fiancé fought desperately to win him back, he still failed. After falling into the enemy's hands, what awaited him were various extreme humiliations during the interrogation. Ji-Jai looked up with red eyes, scanning the rows, cursing continuously under his breath. Finally, I endured the pain and carefully finished watching that humiliating scene. He had originally breathed a sigh of relief, because according to the plot here, Zhao Yun has successfully escaped back. But seeing this, we have just reached the halfway point. His heart lifted again, carefully placed it down and flipped through. He just realized that the plot had only just begun, because a letter merchant discovered this secret, and he used this secret to blackmail Zhaoyan. If you don't follow his arrangements, I am going to tell my fiancé and family the secret. In desperation, Zhao Yun could only obey his orders. Fortunately, this letter of credit business didn't have any designs on Zhao Yun, but his thoughts were even more malicious than Tang Yu's. Because this guy's goal is to take control of the night organization, he plans to use his fiancée to eliminate a powerful enemy, remove the control of the fiancé over Zhao Yun, and take down the dark night organization. He had even betrayed his wife in the dark organization, as long as that fiancé completes his task. It was the moment of my fiancé's life and death. Zhaz, that must definitely be EQ. Ji-Jai's face twisted with anger. Consider him an ally. He calculated himself like this. He quickly began to think of a strategy in his mind. Tang Yu cannot let go, but Yi Qiu must die in front of Tang Yu. At that moment, his phone rang again. Only after a glance did I realize it was my trusted confidant, Lao Liu, calling. Ji Xiao, didn't you ask us to find someone before? We have already found that person. He is hiding in a villa, sleeping with a woman. Are you coming over to catch this guy together? Sure, wait for me to act together. I'll drive with Zaya along to pick you up. Someone is watching over there. The man on the phone replied. Ji-Jai heard a sound and hung up the phone. He returned to the room, changed into a new set of clothes, and prepared his weapons. Get ready. Fully armed, Ji-Jai went downstairs to wait. After the car arrives, a short man in the passenger seat got out to help Ji-jai open the door. Ji-jai nodded and sat in the back seat of the car. As soon as I got into the car, he caught a faint, barely noticeable scent. You, as a master skilled in poisons, he is quite sensitive to these things. Without saying a word, he used the turtle breathing technique. The two killers sitting in the front row seriously reported the details to Ji-jai. Ji-jai remained silent after listening. After a few minutes passed, Jeji suddenly closed his eyes and collapsed onto the back seat of the car. The short man in the passenger seat quickly shouted, "Ji Shao." Ji-jai had no response at all. After multiple confirmations, the short man chuckled darkly, pulled out a cigarette, lit it, and leaned back. "The poison that Ji Shao gave is still effective against Detective Nang. Even someone as skilled as Ji Shao fell for it." The man driving spoke with a hint of pride. "Feels a bit like a dog relying on its master." The short person dialed the phone with their mobile. "Yi Shao, Jeji has already been infected. I'll bring it to you now." "All right, I understand. Please wait a moment. We will arrive soon." After a phone call ended, he looked at his companion and instructed, "Yi Shao has already opened the celebratory red wine and is waiting for us. It's just over by the Sanjiang villa." Ji-jai lay in the back seat of the car and sneered to himself. Thus it instilled a desire to kill in him towards Yi Qiuhan. Then they arranged another show to stir up hatred. At that moment, Teng Yu was sitting on the bed in the bedroom, looking at her phone, and a stunningly beautiful blonde woman was lying at his feet. His hands and feet seemed to be tightly bound by an invisible force. The black eye mask covered his eyes, while keeping him immobilized. "Can't see anything around." Teng Yu couldn't help but sigh sadly while holding her phone. "Ji-jai is secretly kissing your blanket." So sleazy. He had Huang Xiaoyan install several cameras in the room, switching to another perspective, just in time to see Gina's ever-changing eyes. Ji-jai finished reading the novel in the surveillance footage. After answering a call, Huang Xiaoyan left the bedroom. Not long after, Tang Yu's phone received a text message. It was sent by those two people in the car. To ensure this plan goes smoothly, he had Huang Xiaoyan bring out several elites from the Dark Knight organization. Control this group of not so powerful assassins with the eye of soul shooting. Let them disguise themselves as EQ to advance the plan. After seeing that Ji-jai had successfully taken care of things here, Teng Yu switched the surveillance to another house. This time, the surveillance focuses on a rather luxurious living room. A middle-aged man is slumped unconscious in a chair, bound. This middle-aged man was brought here by Huang Xiaoyan at Tang Yu's request early this morning. He is a core member of a prominent family in Yanqing, a prominent figure in Yanjing. The reason for the fame? It's because he is notoriously petty. A 3-part sorrow demands a 17-part repayment. After knocking this guy out, Tang Yu used disguise techniques to help him change his appearance. He's just like his old man. Next, we just wait for Yiqiu to enter the game. At this moment, Yiqiu is training at Wuji Group. At that moment, Han Minjuan suddenly knocked on the door and walked in to report. "Yi Shao has good news. The Dark Knight organization just contacted me. It is said that Tang Yu's father has been kidnapped." Yiqiu's expression changed. The Dark Knight organization has finally accomplished something. Hurrying straight to the destination. After entering the villa, a middle-aged man is tied to a chair. He walked over to confirm the appearance. With a swift backhand, a slap landed on the opponent's face. After this slap landed, the man, who was originally in a deep coma, instantly woke up in pain. Strange sounds came from his mouth. Noticing something off about the middle-aged man, EQ looked at the little brother from the dark night organization beside him and asked what was wrong. The little brother said he was noisy on the way. To make things easier, I did a little something to his throat. EQ laughed heartily. The blindfold tied to the middle-aged man's face was torn off, so that he can see clearly who he is. When the eye mask was pulled off, the middle-aged man widened his eyes, and after staring intently at EQ a few times, instantly recognized him. So there was a hint of anger in his gaze. He opened his mouth and spat a mouthful of saliva at EQ. EQ reacted extremely quickly. In an instant, I dodged and then rushed forward to slap a few times. After finishing, he still felt it wasn't tight enough. A stream of warm urine splashed onto the middle-aged man's face. After taking revenge vigorously, EQ felt as if he was floating in the air. Did I just record the video of me hitting him? I got it. The little brother quickly handed his phone to EQ. A hint of mockery appeared in his eyes. Give me another pair of scissors. I drained his energy. The debt of a child is to be repaid by the parent. There's nothing to say. EQ easily assisted the middle-aged man with the close-range surgery. The middle-aged man fainted from the pain. When will Ji Xiao come over? Next, it's time to lure out that brat Tang Yu and kill him. Still need to wait a while. Why don't you have a glass of red wine and take a break? Yi Xiao, here is the fine wine treasured by Ji Xiaojin. Little brother smiled and asked a question. Yi Qiu nodded. The little brother happily ran to the wine cabinet and pulled out a bottle of red wine. In front of Yi Qiu, he opened the red wine. A rich aroma of wine wafted through the air. After experiencing a few setbacks, EQ had originally made up his mind not to touch outside food, but he took a sniff. I found that the little brother didn't have any fragrance. This means he is not the filthy rat that has been lurking in the shadows plotting against him. He picked up the red wine and swirled it. After a glass of red wine goes down, he handed the cup over again. He gestures for the little brother to pour him another cup. As he savored the fine wine, another car parked under the villa. The man dressed up as the villain from the novel. They set up a scheme to make the male lead a target of hatred. At this moment, EQ had just taken revenge on the members of the Yanjing family, including Yu Rongcheng and old Master Tang. Cheers with red wine to celebrate in advance. At that moment, a car drove up downstairs. The two people sitting in the front row were just about to carry the unconscious Ji Jai out. The blade in Ji Jai's hand glinted. The two of them clutched their throats and fell down. After entering the villa, he quickly saw EQ sitting on the sofa drinking. After realizing that there was only one traitor in the villa besides EQ, Ji Jai raised his hand and shot the traitor dead, charging towards EQ with a knife. I saw the little brother next to me get shot in the head. EQ subconsciously thought it was Tang Yu who had arrived. Just as he was about to take action, Ji Jai has already shouted angrily. EQ hiding behind the sofa is useless. Today Yisu has come, so I won't bother you. Heard it was Ji Jai's voice. EQ's expression suddenly changed. Ji Jai raised his hand and fired a few shots with red eyes. Soon the two of them started fighting. EQ's strength during the mid-stage of self-destruction. Originally, it was possible to easily surpass Ji Jai during the early stages of Tianzai's suicide. However, Ji Jai, as the top assassin on the leaderboard, his speed is really too fast, adding various endless tricks. EQ was also startled and terrified. According to the protagonist law, encountered a formidable enemy. The protagonist fights hard despite the difficulties. The ultimate victor is still him. But this time, EQ suddenly started to feel really hot. It feels like it's about to catch fire. Suddenly, his gaze fell upon the bottle of red wine. His face changed drastically, and he suddenly lost the desire to fight. Because my body is feeling increasingly off. After finding an opportunity, I knocked G.J. back several meters with a punch. EQ turned around and was about to run. G.J. raised his hand and fired a few shots to block EQ's escape route. A knife stabbed towards EQ's back. EQ, furious, could no longer tolerate this relentless persistence. Until there's no escape, he can only choose to stay and fight with all his might. After about 10 minutes of fighting between both sides, EQ, who was stabbed 5 or 6 times, let G.J. be kicked down to the ground. G.J. kicked him in a sensitive spot, causing his inner energy to be unable to circulate for a short time, completely lost the ability to fight. Then he sat on the sofa, smelling the aroma wafting from the wine bottle. With a mocking expression, he sneered. "This is the bar where they plotted against me with their lightness skill." After bringing over the bottle, he is too lazy to use a cup. Just pour it directly into the bottle. G.J. twirled a knife in his hand twice, just about to make a move. Suddenly I feel like something is off. After EQ came out of the villa, an hour has passed. At this moment in the villa, G.J. has already become a corpse. EQ stood at the entrance of the villa. EQ, with a face full of weariness, lit a cigarette for himself. My feelings are complicated. He turned around and walked back to the villa. Take the kidnapped uncle back to my car. Kill G.J. He completely fell out with the Dark Knight organization. But the hostages they needed are already in hand. The Dark Knight organization has indeed lost much of its value. EQ then drove to a winery owned by the Wuja Group. First, lock the hostages over there. After driving for about 10 minutes, EQ was still thinking about this matter. A surge of anger suddenly rose in my heart. EQ simply stopped the car. He fiercely hit the middle-aged man behind him. The middle-aged man was transformed to look like his uncle by the unscrupulous Tang Yuyi, after enduring countless slaps. The high-quality human skin mask was knocked off by EQ. At this moment, EQ's face looked as if he had been sprayed with hot coffee. Human skin mask? This is not Tang Yu's father. He tore off all the fallen human skin masks. After seeing the bruised and swollen ugly face beneath the human skin mask, he recognized this person immediately. Isn't that the infamous Bai Yuending from the Bai family? After coming back to my senses, EQ felt the urge to kill. After thinking for a moment, he quickly came up with a good compromise. First, treat Bai Yuending, who has been beaten quite badly. After Bai Yuending regained consciousness, EQ tapped Bai Yuending's face with a glinting dagger and asked him, "Bai-san, we had some misunderstandings before. I don't think your personality would forgive me so easily. So now you have 2 choices. Either I kill you now. The dead won't cause me any trouble." Tears flowed out from beneath the white round cauldron, shaking his head vigorously to indicate he won't choose this. "Good. Then let's choose the second one." EQ took out a small bottle. He forced a black pill into the mouth of the white round cauldron. "This is the poison I made myself. From now on, we are friends. If you have no objections." That's how it is. It has come to this. He can only use this method. Bai Yuending nodded vigorously. Just survive and go back. The one seeking revenge is slowly devising a plan. The man dressed like the villain from the novel. After the male host plays the drama, just lie back in the hotel and watch the live stream leisurely. The entire process of the battle between Ikkyu and Ji Jai. Tang Yu could see everything clearly. Sure enough, at the moment Ikkyu found himself in a desperate situation. His opponent Ji Jilly immediately started to get confused and show off. Drained that bottle of red wine that had been specially drugged by someone. "I'm going to take a nap. Call me when they are done." After putting the phone aside, Tang Yu lay comfortably on Huang Xiaoyan's lap, sleeping on her side. Huang Xiaoyan nodded with a satisfied expression. After watching the battle between Ikkyu and Ji Jai conclude, Huang Xiaoyan gently nudged Tang Yu, her legs already sore and numb. "Master, they have finished. Ji Jai has already fallen in a pool of blood." Tang Yu was not surprised at all by this result. Looking at Huang Xiaoyan, he asked, "You really helped a lot this time. What reward do you want from me?" Huang Xiaoyan's body trembled with excitement. The eyes sparkled brightly as they looked at Tang Yu. Tang Yu immediately understood. Start to take out various props like the invisible tool, candles, and so on. After waiting for 3 hours, Tang Yu poured out 3 fragrant pills from a small bottle. It was the 9-turn pill that Xiao Yu had sent through someone a few days ago. "You eat this. You must be at the initial stage of self-cultivation now. Eat all 3 together. Can we break through to the peak of self-destruction?" After swallowing 3 9-turn pills, Huang Xiaoyan clearly felt a change occurring within her. It felt as if a warm current was flowing in, filled his meridians. It took about 10 minutes. After the medicinal effects have been fully digested, Huang Xiaoyan's realm truly surged to the peak of self-destruction in one go. The rocket-like acceleration. It also surprised him a bit. "Deeply moved in my heart." Tang Yu smiled and pinched Huang Xiaoyan's cheek before asking, "Has Ji Jai's body been transported back?" "I have arranged for someone to send it back. What should we do next?" Huang Xiaoyan looked innocently at Tang Yu and asked. "He has now completely devoted his body and soul to his master. Ikkyu killed Ji Jai. The Dragon Soul Organization and the Dark Knight Organization will also become adversaries. But with the strength of your Dark Knight Organization, definitely not their match. So I think you should go back and take Jeji's place. After taking control of the Dark Knight Organization, I will help you deal with the Longhan Organization." Tang Yu presented the plan he had prepared long ago. Huang Xiaoyan obediently nodded. After the two of them discussed and agreed, he left the hotel and drove straight to the Night Organization's base. The Dark Knight Organization has been blown up. The organization has recognized that the first genius in history, Ji Jai, has actually died. At this moment, Huang Xiaoyan returned with a strange man. The gaze of everyone in the Dark Knight Organization focused on Tang Yu's face. After 2 people recognized him, everyone pulled out their guns and aimed at Tang Yu. They recognized the target known as Tang Yu. Yi Shao from the Longhan Organization placed an order with them. They were ordered to kill this person. "Put down the gun. Tang Shao is my esteemed guest." Huang Xiaoyan immediately glared at the 2 assassins with a murderous intent and growled, like a mother tiger about to explode with rage. Huang Xiaoyan looked at the members of the Night Organization, recited the lines discussed with Tang Yu on the way. "EQ shamelessly exploits the Dark Knight Organization. Still wanting to occupy the Dark Knight Organization after using it up." Later, Tang Yu discovered Yikyu's ambition, told the truth to those who are enemies. Ji Jai was furious after learning about this and went to assassinate Yikyu. Instead, he was killed by Yikyu. After hearing what Huang Xiaoyan said, few people doubted the Night Organization. because Huang Zhaoyan usually has a very high temperament. They rarely spoke. There's no reason to deceive them. Moreover, the person we just sent out for investigation has also provided intelligence. Surveillance near the villa. I saw Yiqiu come out of the villa, still bearing several knife wounds. So he was originally one of the suspects. After learning this truth, the members of the Dark Knight organization were all furious. The members of the Ji family firmly declared their intent for revenge. However, the Huang family remained silent. The expression was somewhat unpredictable. I also support revenge. Just as the Huang family members hesitated, Huang Zhaoyan suddenly expressed her stance. Then he pointed to the side at Tang Lai. I can now break the mirror all thanks to Tang Xiao. He is Yiqiu's #1 enemy. Even Lai and Yiqiu couldn't do anything about him. We teamed up with Tang Xiao, head Longhun organization. Everyone finally understood why Huang Zhaoyan brought Teng Yu back. The man dressed up as the villain from the novel. With his villainous charm, he captured the killer Huang Zhaoyan. Infiltrate the Dark Knight organization. Huang Zhaoyan recited the lines she had discussed with Teng Yu in front of everyone. In an instant, everyone was filled with the resolve to avenge Ji Jai. Teng Yu no longer deliberately restrained his aura. Show the cultivation of Kai in the heavenly mirror. After sensing Teng Yu's cultivation level, the expressions of these people changed dramatically. The Dragon Soul organization is not as terrifying as you think. Tang Xiao's abilities are not as weak as you think. At this moment, a man's voice suddenly echoed. No one could bear to look. I suddenly noticed that a handsome young man had appeared in the living room at some point. It was precisely the Lord Lu who had secretly followed. Moreover, what made them feel even more suffocated was, this guy actually has the cultivation level of a Tianzi mirror. Thus, everyone's gaze towards Teng Yu carried a bit more reverence. If Tang Xiao is willing to collaborate with our Dark Knight organization, we would be very happy to. But I want to know, how did Tang Xiao help the Empress break through her realm so quickly? If we want to cooperate with Tang Yu, he hoped to obtain this precious cultivation resource from Tang Yu. In this way, the Dark Knight organization has the opportunity to significantly enhance its strength. Tang Yu smiled and turned a small bottle in his hand. You should have heard of this elixir. I know it's the 9 Revolutions elixir. The members of the Dark Knight organization all brightened at once. Your organization collaborates with me. Provide intelligence and other assistance. I can use the 9 Revolutions elixir as a condition for cooperation. After half an hour of discussion between both parties, things were settled quickly, according to their abilities and contributions. Tang Yu provides at least 10 9 transformation pills each year, used to cultivate core geniuses for the Dark Knight organization. Ru Zhanzhuo stayed behind to teach them how to deal with the Dragon Soul organization. After dealing with the Dark Knight organization, Huang Zhaoyan drove Teng Yu back. After taking a shower, Tang Yu returned to bed and began to worry again about the Kai family matters. Kai Jaya, this old lecher. It's love at first sight for Yiqiu. This is when I started to help deal with myself. The orders that Sister Yan Jai separates are not small orders at all, but rather the major projects over by San Huan. It will take nearly 2 years to complete this project. The profit is naturally an astronomical figure. If it really gets messed up, Tang Yu is determined to use glue to stick Kai Jaya's old man's leather coat. Everyone has different dreams. At this moment, Yiqiu's dream is to find a nice place to sleep beautifully for a while. Although successfully counterattacking Ji Jai, But EQ was seriously hurt both physically and mentally. After returning to the Wuja group, he took out 2 healing pills and swallowed them, then took off the shirt. The upper body already has several knife wounds. These wounds still have some faint black marks. Clearly poisoned. Han Minjuan as a pawn cultivated by the Long An organization. He is quite skilled in these things as well. He glanced at the wound and nearly took another stab. Yi Shao, you are poisoned. That's right, it's a deadly blow. EQ nodded. He is skilled in medicine. They are naturally very knowledgeable about these poisons. This item ranks second among the 7 poisons of the world. The toxicity is as strong as its name suggests. Blood seal the throat. It means certain death within an hour after being poisoned. Relying on the time gained from EQ's hard-earned cultivation, Han Minjuan quickly arranged for someone to deliver the herbs that EQ needed. Confirmed multiple times, no issues. He swallowed the specially made antidote. EQ's body gradually recovered. I feel a bit hungry. EQ was about to invite Han Minjuan to grab a meal together. The phone in Han Minjuan's office suddenly rang. Yi Shao has good news. The organization contacted me. Tiger Brother is on his way to the airport. I will go pick him up to meet you. This person is a top expert in the Dragon Soul organization. Strength has already reached the peak of the heavenly mirror, because they were too outstanding. The old Dragon King specifically renamed him Yi Dao. EQ was quite surprised to hear this news. Feeling great, EQ immediately stood up and said, I will go with you to pick him up. Han Minjuan quickly arranged for a car. The two left the Wuja group and headed straight for the airport. After arriving at the airport, the two waited for half an hour. The plane that flew in from Europe gently landed. The man dressed like the villain from the novel just finalized the cooperation plan with the Any organization. The big boss sent a skilled expert to assist the male lead. EQ and Han Minjuan learned that Tiger G from the Tianzi Mirror Peak was about to arrive, directly headed to the airport. After rushing to the airport, the two waited for half an hour. The plane slowly landed from Europe. Very soon, a man with a face full of flesh and a somewhat dim-witted expression walked down from the plane. EQ immediately stepped forward and gave the other person a hug. The two have been brothers for many years. He is slightly older than EQ. It has been 3 years since entering the peak of the Tianzi Mirror. For the past 6 months, he has been trying to seclude himself and break through to this realm, enter the mirror of heaven and man. Hu Ji smiled confidently and asked, What is my task? Help me catch a stinky old rat and deal with a guy named Tang. EQ's expression darkened slightly. I briefly recounted the deeds of the two people to Hu Ji. At that moment, his phone vibrated. He took it out to have a look. I just realized the message was sent by Kaizin Han. Yi Shao, are you free tomorrow night? If you have time, I'll take you to a banquet. Let me introduce you to some friends. After seeing the text message from Kai Zenhen, EQ felt a surge of joy in his heart. This young master of the Kai family, it seems they have already considered themselves as real brothers. A luxurious private villa. A Pagani drove up and stopped at the villa entrance. Tang Yu, dressed in a rare casual suit, stepped down from the car. After opening the door with the fingerprint lock, 2 exceptionally handsome young men were lying on the sofa playing mobile games. A friend's hotel has been renovated. Let's host a banquet and invite everyone to have fun. By the way, let me introduce you to more friends. After the 2 women finished changing into their dresses, the 3 of them arrived at the hotel together. As soon as they got off the car, many people actively approached Liu Ryan and Yan Shishi to greet them. Tang Yu followed behind the two women, and also caught the attention of everyone. Many members of the Beihua society are present today. These women have met Tang Yu several times, so that counts. One by one, they actively approached Tang Yu, calling him Tang Yu brother. At that moment, Han Mingxuan was chatting about women with a few buddies. While chatting, I saw my good brother Tang Yu hastily stepped forward to greet. Big brother has been doing quite well lately. They went to play with the little girls from the 100 Flowers Club. They have quite a few resources in hand. If there's a good business opportunity, don't forget about me, brother. Hearing him say that, Tang Yu really has some ideas. Sister Ru Yan wants to intervene with her order here at Kaijaya. If we could recruit Han Mingxuan to join us. The pressure from the Kai family isn't anything. While Tang Yu was contemplating this matter, two pairs of eyes are watching him from a distance. It was Yiqiu and Kai Xing'an, who had just arrived here not long ago, came here with them. There is also the second young master of the Kai family, Kai Royan. However, Kai Royan was looking at her phone on the side. I didn't get involved. Yi Shao, this is the Tang Yu you mentioned to us before. I used to meet him. Kai Xinghan smiled coldly. He doesn't care whether the truth is the same as what Yiqiu said. But Yiqiu is now his good brother. So his grievances are his own grievances. Yiqiu felt a surge of joy upon hearing Kai Xinghan's words. Then I casually sent a message from my phone. Let Tiger Ji wait downstairs at the hotel. After today's banquet ends, the two join forces to take down the kid with the surname Tang first. When they reached Tang Yu, Kai Xinghan hasn't spoken yet. Tang Yu's expression changed slightly as he quickly stepped back a few paces, waved a hand in front of the nose and shouted, "Isn't this the soft rice king who got beaten up? When can such people come in?" As soon as he said this, everyone's gaze immediately turned towards them. Recognized a figure like Yiqiu. The other guests at the banquet burst into laughter as well. A mocking gaze directed at Yiqiu. What are you even? Here you have the right to speak. Seeing Yiqiu humiliated, Kai Xing'an's expression darkened as he coldly questioned Tang Yu. Kai Da laughed and said, "That's too scary. You want to scare my big brother and me to death." Before Tang Yu could speak, Han Mingxuan clicked his tongue twice, showing no sign of fear. After all, Kai Jaya laughed heartily. Half of Yanjing belongs to the Kai family. It's not just a matter of saying you want to kill someone. I just don't know where my brother offended Kai Dak Seao. Liu Ryan also walked over from behind, mocking sarcastically. Came with him. There is a group of women among the blooming flowers. The reason why Beihua Hui is famous in Nianjing. Not just because of the great energy. It's also because these women stick together especially tightly. I saw that the pampered Tang Yu was being bullied. They were not very happy about it. A group of powerful sisters spoke on his behalf. Kai Xinghan's face turned pale as he coldly asked, "What do you mean by this?" "I'm afraid Kai Daxiao can't stand handsome guys. A man with extreme pride is not a good thing." Liu Ruyan sneered as she stepped forward to deliver a final blow. Others do not understand Kai Xinghan. He understands it all too well. As for him causing trouble for his own brother, Liu Ryan could guess it with her little toe. It must be for Yiqiu. Birds of a feather flock together. No wonder you get along well with this person. He likes to spray manure. You also like to talk nonsense. His final shot sealed the deal. Kai Xing'an's face turned dark with anger. Knowing I can't argue back. It's not appropriate to take candy in front of so many people. Kai Xing'an let out a cold snort. Taiking turned and left with Yiqiu. Kai Royan followed behind Yiqiu and the others. was silently watching the show the whole time, suddenly felt a wave of urgency to urinate. She greeted us and then went to the bathroom. After the physiological issues were resolved, a tall, beautiful girl came over to shake hands. "Hello, Kai Shao. Long time no see." Kai Royan instinctively revealed a smile. After all, it's hard for a man to resist a beautiful woman's advances. Just as she was about to learn more, the beautiful woman suddenly said she had to leave. She didn't feel too regretful about it. There are many women who throw themselves at her. It's not a big deal. She just returned and sat down next to her older brother. Ikkei's expression changed immediately. She glared fiercely at Kai Royan, a murderous intent in her eyes. With an almost imperceptible speed, he reached out and grabbed Kai Royan's neck. He pressed her head firmly onto the sofa. "This guy. There is a lingering trace of fragrance left on my hands. She has always been the dead mouse harming herself in the shadows." Kai Royan reacted. Her face flushed as she desperately slapped Yikiu's hand. Kicks in hand is also quite fierce. "Yi Shao, what are you doing? This person is the bastard who poisoned us before. Yi wrong. It can't be wrong." I left a mark on her. Kai Royan was tightly held by Ikkyu by the neck. I'm almost out of breath. She stared wide-eyed, trying to pinch Ikkyu's hand with her nails to make her let go. Ikkyu felt a sharp pain. A backhanded slap struck Kai Royan's face. After this slap, half of the banquet hall's attention turned towards us. Kai Royan was secretly called a bastard by some members of the Kai family, but she is still a part of the Kai family. Slapping her in the face in front of so many people. Can Kai Jaya really count like this? Kicks in hand's expression was not very good either. She frowned and said, "Yi Shao, so you mean this guy is my brother Yiron Chen?" Ikkyu nodded, reaching out to pull Kai's in hand's face. But after pulling a few times with force, she realized an awkward problem. This guy, there's no human skin mask on the face. Moreover, it seems she possesses no cultivation within her body. Several questions burned in her heart. Soon, Ikkyu arrived at an answer that made her want to die. Perhaps this Kai Royan I created, it is indeed the second young master of the Kai family, if it's the same person from beginning to end. She didn't have this fragrance before. Suddenly there is now. This can only indicate one thing. Her fragrance, it was just put up by someone. EQ awkwardly released Kai Royan, who was on the verge of fainting. He held her fingers close and sniffed them. Indeed, the source of fragrance is the palm, not the fingers. EQ's expression instantly darkened. Kai's in hand was momentarily speechless, unsure of what to say. She doesn't have much affection for her half-brother, but as a direct descendant of the Kai family, being publicly slapped in the face, her face can't hold up either. But this person happens to be Ikkyu, so she could only let this matter pass as it was. Kai Royan gritted her teeth. He got up with a dark expression and walked toward the bathroom. She walked to the innermost seat and closed the door, with fists tightly clenched, eyes filled with hatred. Compared to hating Ikkyu, she hated her older brother even more. For her, this half-brother of mine is even worse than a stranger. The man dressed like the villain from the novel, to create hatred towards the male lead. The tracking photo was placed in the hands of the second young master of the Kai family, Kai Royan. She almost fell victim to Ikkyu's deadly hands. After the misunderstanding is resolved, kicks in hand as his older brother, yet still speaking for outsiders. This made Kai Royan secretly resentful. At that moment, Tang Yu walked in with the dog from outside the bathroom, walked into the bathroom with her, and Lu Junjuo just finished removing her makeup. The beautiful woman who shook hands with Kai Royan It was indeed Lu Jianzhuo in disguise. After the two exchanged a glance, we walked to the urinal and started to pee. Teng Yu deliberately lowered his voice and chuckled. "Let me tell you something. The one just now called Yi Qiu. That guy is just like Kaizin Han. I saw them going to the bathroom, entered the same restroom. I just don't know who's flattering whom. Today's young people are really disgusted." After chatting for a bit, both of them began to laugh softly. "After using the toilet, wash your hands and leave." After they left, Kai Royan, who was eavesdropping behind the door, "I have already used my phone immediately. I recorded the conversation between the two people. This is extremely important news for her. Once this news gets out, after she united with Kai Zhen Han, what face does he have to become the next head of the Kai family?" Kai Royan's eyes were filled with excited tears that were about to fall. "Even forgot the pain on my face. She originally wanted to send it to Grandpa right now, but a mere audio recording is not enough to serve as evidence. So she decided to wait a little longer. First, let someone investigate secretly. It's not too late to gather more evidence first." Back to after the banquet. To avoid suspicion, Tang Yu didn't go with Liu Ruyan. After the accident, they stayed together, but rather hang out with Han Mingxuan and his drinking buddies. Yiqiu cast a cold glance at Tang Yu. The corner of his mouth curled into a sneer. "Yi Xiao, according to what you said before. The guy hiding in the shadows causing trouble. How can we find out?" Kaizin Han asked. "It's hard to investigate. This person is too insidious. To catch a thief, first catch the leader. I have arranged for someone to wait outside. Just go ahead and take action against Tang Yu later," Iku said softly. "He and Kaizin Han have already established a friendship of shared honor and disgrace. It wouldn't hurt to tell him this little secret." After the sugar cubes melted in the coffee, Kixin Han took a sip, frowned slightly, and spat it back out. "What the hell is going on? Why is this coffee so bad? What's wrong with this coffee? If you smell this fragrance, it should be Yi family Zufei coffee." EQ smiled faintly and began to show off nonchalantly. "Real hand-brewed coffee. Too many details need to be focused on. If Kai Shao is interested, I'll go to the kitchen and make a cup myself." EQ laughed and took the opportunity to draw closer to each other. Smiling, I went to the kitchen to start brewing coffee. After being busy in the kitchen for about 10 minutes, EQ smiled faintly. "Take this carefully crafted hand-brewed coffee back," preparing to let Kai Zinhan taste his own skills. Meanwhile, Tang Yu, chatting with someone not far away, suddenly brightened her eyes. He quickly pulled a small spray bottle from his pocket, sprayed twice into the palm of the hand. After spraying out 2 small droplets of transparent liquid, Tang Yu silently controlled the invisible energy, reaching into Kaizin Han's cup. This transparent liquid is also an herbal essence, but it does not promote bowel movements. To be precise, this is the liquid extracted from a certain flower. This flower is called heather. This thing is harmless to the human body. It's just that the smell is a bit strong. Hey, you like to drink hand-brewed coffee, right? This is the hand-brewed coffee specially made for you by Yiqiu. Let you drink to your heart's content." After murmuring to myself, Teng Yu glanced at Han Mingxuan with keen interest. At that moment, Yan Shishi and Liu Ryan were just walking over. After hearing Tang Yu's heartfelt voice, the two women were deeply shocked. Everyone stopped and looked towards Kaizin Han. At this moment, Kixin Han is still holding the coffee and gently blowing on it. After blowing for half a minute, Kixin Han then lifted the coffee and took a gentle sip, although it has a slightly bitter taste. But this rich flavor is truly undeniable. and there was a hint of strange sweetness. I don't know what else was added. Makes one a bit tipsy while drinking. After drinking 3 sips in a row, Kixenhand's expression grew increasingly indulgent. The longer the wine is stored, the more fragrant it becomes. He shows hand-brewed coffee is like aged wine. I have never had such a unique coffee. EQ laughed heartily, but suddenly the nose twitched twice. How does he feel when Kaizenhan speaks? A smell wafted out from my mouth. Kaizenhan suddenly noticed this smell, and the feeling is becoming stronger. The man dressed as the villain from the novel. After just pranking Kairoyan, just extract the essence of the stone fern through the intangible instrument. Put it into the hand-brewed coffee made by EQ. Unexpectedly, Kaizenhan drank even more enjoyably. A strange smell wafted out. He frowned. He held the coffee cup and took a deep sniff. Why does the rich aroma of the coffee have a unique fishy scent? After a moment's effort, Kaizenhan widened his eyes in shock. Is this the secret to Yishe Pao's hand-brewed coffee? Kaizenhan smiled faintly. He raised the coffee and drank it in one gulp. Even after finishing the drink, they added some hot water into it. After stirring a few times with a spoon, finished drinking the remaining coffee this way. So awesome. He drank it all. This guy is just like his old man. He's also a gay guy. I really admire him. No one in this family is normal. Tang Yu, who was watching the show from the side, almost lost his tongue. Liu Royan, who was eavesdropping nearby, completely pressured Yun Shishi. Finally, the banquet is almost over. EQ discovered that Tang Yu, who was originally chatting and laughing with a few rich third-generation heirs, suddenly walked towards the hall entrance. Realizing this guy wants to sneak away, EQ suddenly stood up and was about to chase after. He quickly rushed out of the banquet hall, just in time to see Tang Yu walk into the elevator. Just as he rushed to the elevator door, the elevator has started to go down. He pressed the doorbell several times, but it didn't work. EQ dashed down the side safety passage without saying a word. While running down, he didn't forget to message Brother Hu at the door to keep a close watch. When he rushed down, the elevator still shows the 6th floor. You can see how fast he is. Then he clenched his fists and stood at the elevator door. Wait for this bastard to come out. Very soon, the elevator slowly came to a stop on the 1st floor. But inside, it was empty as a shadow. At this moment, Tang Yu had already slipped into a storage room on the 2nd floor of the hotel. He sent a text to Lu Junzhuo telling him to hurry and escape. Then he pushed open the window of the storeroom and jumped down. Meanwhile, Brother Hu, warming up on the opposite side of the road, noticed Tang Yu. He instantly reacted. Quickly caught up, once both sides were within a meter of each other. Wu Ji gathered the true energy within and punched towards Tang Yu's back. But at the moment this punch hit Tang Yu's back, Wu Ji's expression suddenly twisted. Quickly retracted his fist and let out a cry. Realized that my fists were already drenched in blood. That bastard actually wore a layer of soft armor on him, and the soft armor is covered in dense spikes. However, at this moment, Tang Yu is not feeling too well either, although the deliberately switched soft armor tricked this guy. But this punch came over. Tang Yu felt a tightness in his chest. After injuring one hand, Tiger Brother became smarter, rushing back behind Tang Yu again. He chose to punch Tang Yu in the back of the head. At the moment just before the punch lands, Tang Yu suddenly lowered his head and turned around. While dodging this punch, the left hand struck towards Tiger's chin. A stunning counterattack came in. Wu Ji suddenly stopped in his tracks. The body leaned back just in time to dodge the uppercut. At the same time, his punch suddenly grabbed Tang Yu's left hand. He hadn't finished speaking yet. The sound of the electric drill suddenly erupted. Tang Yu's right hand unexpectedly produced a small, portable electric drill. The rapidly spinning drill headed straight for Tiger Ji's belly. As Tang Yu held the electric drill, in an instant, from an unexpected angle, Hu Ji's expression turned cold, with both hands suddenly coming together in a posture to seize the power drill barehanded. At the same time, he silently kicked towards Tang Yu's groin. Tang Yu and Hu Ji kicked almost simultaneously. The moment their legs collided together, Hu Ji's face turned sour as he cursed internally. This bastard. Soft armor was also strapped to the feet. Meanwhile, Tang Yu pressed the small button on the side of the electric drill. The rapidly spinning drill shot out like a bullet. Hu Ji's expression changed dramatically in an instant, but it was too late to dodge. He concentrated his vital energy in his chest to block it for a moment. The fierce drill still penetrated his chest, bringing forth a spray of blood. Seize this opportunity. Tang Yu seized the opportunity and unleashed a powerful punch. After desperately blocking the punch, Tiger Ji stepped back 3 whole steps. Then he suddenly fell into the sun well as he felt a void beneath his feet. This well is the sewage drainage system for the nearby area. Nearby neighborhoods' waste has all accumulated within. Every day there will be a film crew coming here to shoot. The man dressed like the villain from the novel just escaped the male lead's pursuit. He locked his subordinates in the Zun well when Hu Ji was just about to climb up, but suddenly the light above disappeared. That extremely insidious and lecherous guy actually closed the manhole cover. At the same time, he also heard the sound of the lighter igniting. Then they noticed a flicker of light coming down from a small hole in the manhole cover. When this spark of fire fell down, a faint explosion sound echoed. Very quickly, a deafening explosion echoed. The manhole cover, originally covered by rocks, suddenly flew several meters high, fell heavily onto the sidewalk. At the moment the bomb was dropped, Tang Yu had already lit a cigarette and placed it in his mouth. The left hand clenches into a fist and extends with the thumb raised. It seems like someone is giving a thumbs up. With a gentle press of the thumb, the explosion sound nearly synced. Straightened out my suit. Tang Yu left a charming silhouette, disappearing into the night sky. About 10 minutes passed. Upon learning about the explosion here, staff from the relevant department arrived to handle the situation. After they went down wearing gas masks, I saw a man soaking in foul-smelling sewage. The staff quickly pulled the person up after the initial panic. After hearing the commotion here, EQ also rushed over. Seeing Tiger Brother covered in a mosaic-like pattern of ALEJ, without thinking, I covered my nose and said, "Brother, where are you going?" "Where is Tang Yu?" Tiger Brother was so angry he jumped up and down. I fainted myself. "Where did Tang Yu go?" Hu Ji could only explain the situation to EQ with a frustrated expression. EQ started to babble along with her mother, fuming inside. After a moment of thought, he said softly, "You go back to the hotel to rest. In a couple of days, come with me to meet someone. If we can get this person to help us. Next time, the kid with the surname Tang will find it hard to escape. A top expert at the heavenly mirror level is not enough. Then let's have 2. The next morning, Tang Yu was just about to eat. Suddenly, a series of images flashed through my mind. After a period of quiet, the dog system finally started to actively spoil the plot for him. EQ found an old man with mental issues in the psychiatric hospital. After a heartfelt conversation with the other party, he successfully became sworn brothers with the old man. But this old man with a troubled mind is a hidden master, half a foot stepping into the mirror of the celestial beings. We need to find a way to deal with him. After muttering to himself, Tang Yu took a big sip of the soup and began to ponder over this matter. Ping'an Hospital. This is a psychiatric hospital that has been open for decades. In Yanjing, they are considered somewhat famous. Hello. When I was young, my grandfather treated me very well. All these years working outside, I didn't know he was hospitalized. I specifically came to visit him. Isn't this old man a homeless person? Didn't you pick up trash with him when you were little? The aunt's expression grew even colder. The gaze directed at Tang Yu was filled with skepticism and a hint of disgust. 6 months ago, he encountered a young handsome guy on QQ. He proposed to meet after being scammed out of half a year's salary while falling in love. It turns out the other person has deleted him. Realizing he had been deceived, he grew to hate men as a group from that moment on. Just as the aunt was about to tell the young man to leave, but found the other party pulling out a stack of cash and handing it over. But considering your filial piety, it's not impossible to make an exception this once. The second room on the left on the third floor is the one. After carrying the fruit basket to the third floor, Tang Yu quickly found Ward 303, standing at the hospital room door. He adjusted his black trench coat and put on sunglasses. Looks just like a true agent. Once the image is confirmed to be fine, Tang Yu then pushed open the hospital room door and walked in. An old man in a hospital gown is sitting inside looking at the mirror. This old guy's information. He had someone look it up as soon as he received the plot preview yesterday, but nothing was found. As for his specific symptoms, they are quite simple. According to the information, he has developed delusional disorder. This is a relatively troublesome mental illness. Patients may become immersed in their own mental world, suddenly felt like a king, once again considering themselves a deity and killing. After seeing the old man's actions, Tang Yu approached the past. He didn't react much either, still focused on the mirror, grinning foolishly while combing hair. The man dressed up as the main villain from the novel, after receiving the system's spoiler for the next episode's plot, hurrying towards Ping'an Psychiatric Hospital, preparing to bid farewell to the old man. I saw this old man carefully combing his hair in front of the mirror. Tang Yu spoke without a second thought. I never expected there would be such a handsome man in the world. Could it be that you are the dragon subduing celestial master? Upon hearing this handsome man's words, the old man, who was just focused on combing his hair, immediately brightened up. After laughing heartily twice, another roll and jumped off the bed. He looked on alert. I certainly know I am incredibly handsome. Don't try to get close by using these tricks. Let's be honest. What is your purpose in approaching me? Tang Yu clapped his hands in praise. Truly worthy of the title dragon subduing heavenly sovereign. It's been years since we last met, yet you're still so cautious. No wonder you were able to stand shoulder to shoulder with me in the organization back then. A hint of confusion flashed across the old man's face. There's no need to keep playing dumb with me. Have you forgotten the times we fought side by side in '99? Tang Yu said with a serious expression. At that moment, he snapped back to reality and immediately retched twice. He clasped his fists towards Tang Yu. I never expected it to be a comrade who survived the divine slaughter war from back then. I do not know who you are. I am Fu Huishan Zun. Assisted my predecessors in slaying countless deities back then. After that battle, Senior, you were injured too severely and lost a lot of your memories. How is the recovery now? Restored a part right? Feeling a bit confused with the old man. But deep down, I truly believe this is real. Finally met someone who shares the same path. By the way, little brother, are you here to assign me a task from the organization? Teng Yu forced a bitter smile. I was brought in here. They say I have a mental illness. At that moment, a nurse walked in with medication and a glass of water. Lao He, it's time for your medicine. Hearing the words, take medicine, immediately hide under the bed with the old man and shout. The nurse has become accustomed to it. Drew a cross on the medical record with a pen. After the nurse left, the old man finally crawled out from under the bed, looking disheveled and covered in dust. These people are really crazy, keeping me locked up here and making me eat this every day. This thing is more bitter than shit. Teng Yu held the medicine in his hand. Since that's the case, today I will wait for you to take this medicine. After saying that, he pretended to swallow on purpose. After seeing Teng Yu calmly help himself take his medicine, suddenly there was a bit more admiration for the old man. I think this Fu Hutian Zun is really something. After taking the medicine, Teng Yu sighed deeply. Senior, you have sacrificed so much for this world, but trapped here. It truly is the case of a person having eyes but not seeing. Seeing that the atmosphere has been set quite well, Teng Yu slowly said, if the senior does not abandon me, how about we become sworn brothers today? The old man jumped up excitedly and said, let's swear brotherhood now. So how do we pay our respects? I was sealed by 3,000 deities working together back then. Just lost this part of my memory. It's okay, I'll teach you. Teng Yu smiled darkly. Immediately teach this old guy the process of becoming sworn brothers. After finishing the kneeling and reciting the lines process, Teng Yu solemnly took out a small bottle he had prepared earlier from his pocket. A thick black liquid is in the bottle. This is high-end imported chocolate sauce. After squeezing chocolate sauce into 2 disposable cups, Tang Yuyi spoke with righteous words. This is the purest black dog poop. You and I as brothers must eat this to show our sincerity. Prove that for the brotherhood we would even eat shit. But the old man swallowed hard. Their expression showed a hint of nervousness and guilt. But when he saw Tang Yu gulp down the black drink in the cup in one go, suddenly he felt a surge of passion in his heart, roared loudly, only a true brother would dare to eat shit. After shouting, I also followed Tang Yu and downed it in one gulp. Elder brother, since we have completed our brotherhood ceremony. Then the younger brother took his leave. I still have to carry out the mission assigned by the bureau chief. All right, all right, all right. Hurry and protect the world. Wait for me to recover. You and I, brothers, fight side by side. The old man nodded heavily. Kai Jaya, since returning from the banquet last time, Kicks in Hand has been often lost in thought on the sofa these days. Old Master Kai was also lost in thought. The two of them seemed a bit distracted all day, just as he was daydreaming while sitting on the sofa. Kai Royan didn't know when she came over with a bowl of traditional Chinese medicine. After chatting for a while, the two brothers, Kicks in Hand, finished the medicinal soup and went for a walk in his garden. At that moment, he saw Yun Shishi hugging a little girl of about 5 years old, playing in the garden. I really love children. I have been taking medicine to treat my illness recently. The medicine is quite effective. Wait until I recover. Should I have a few children? Yun Shishi's mood plummeted instantly upon hearing this. It's as annoying as eating a dead fly. After walking a distance, sent a message to Yiqiu. In the name of the old master, invite him to come to our house for dinner the day after tomorrow. the man dressed like the villain from the novel. After learning about the next episode's plot in advance, then I arrived at the mental hospital and bowed to the old man. At this moment, EQ was driving with Brother Hu to Tama Mountain Mental Hospital. After the car arrived at the entrance of the mental hospital, several doctors in white coats were already waiting for them at the door. I saw EQ coming. The head dean immediately approached with a respectful expression. This morning, he received a call from a leader. Let him properly host a young man from the sex industry today. Just take me to see the patient. The dean nodded. Pai Dian started leading the way ahead. After reaching outside the ward, EQ didn't let the dean open the door. He took a glance inside. I saw the old man doing a handstand on the bed. All right, you all can disperse now. I went in to have a chat with the old man. After sending this group of people away, EQ finally pushed the door open and walked in. The old man is currently struggling to practice his skills in bed. Since I met Fu Hutanzan a couple of days ago, he wished he could quickly restore his celestial powers. Good to fight alongside my sworn brother. After EQ and the others came in, he remained indifferent, as if not seeing it at all. He smiled and said, "Do you still remember me, old man?" Hearing the other person call out to them, after jumping off the bed with the old man, he opened his mouth and spat a thick phlegm at EQ. EQ wiped his face with his sleeve. He sighed gloomily. "Do you not remember me, old man? Who are you talking about with the old man? I am the dragon-slaying heavenly sovereign. It's not with the old man." EQ paused for a moment and quickly corrected himself. Excuse me. I mistook the person. I didn't expect you to be the renowned dragon-subduing celestial master. How did you recognize me as the dragon-subduing celestial? Is it that organization sent to assassinate me?" The old man's face turned pale with shock. With a loud shout, another thick phlegm was spat out. "Yi Shao is losing his mind. I think we should just go back. Who are you calling crazy?" The old man was furious. Charging forward, he threw a punch at Brother Hu. Hu Ji's expression changed dramatically, after hurriedly crossing his arms to block the punch. "My arms feel a bit numb." He didn't have time to go up and intercept. Suddenly appeared in front of him like a ghost. A backhanded slap came flying in, accompanied by a loud slap. EQ's face instantly swelled on one side. "You're not exactly a good guy either. So you all want to assassinate me, huh? Today, let me show you the power of the dragon subduing heavenly sovereign." EQ muttered a curse under his breath. I was so frustrated I almost spat out a mouthful of old blood. Gave Tiger Brother a glance. The two quickly left the hospital room. With a sullen expression, EQ immediately found a nurse at the hospital. Later, pretend to give him an injection and medicine. "Is there a large syringe for giving injections?" He originally planned to have a heart-to-heart talk with the old man to build a good relationship. Let the nurse play the role of the villain again, singing alone to win some favor. EQ asked two nurses to bring the syringe and medicine inside to find the old man. The old man stood on the bed, proudly looking in the mirror and combing his hair. The nurse with the syringe walked over and pulled the curtain open. Spoke coldly. "It's time for the injection." "I don't want to get the injection anymore. That needle is so big it could kill." The old man was so scared that his face turned pale. Squatting on the ground, he shouted. Then Tiger Brother rushed up immediately. He first tugged at the old man's pants. After a few symbolic tugs, he stood up and kicked the old man several times while shouting, "Be honest. Otherwise, I'll stick a needle on your forehead." Shivering in fear with the old man. Even when kicked, I won't fight back. Just squatting on the ground and shouting, Tiger brother is getting more and more energetic. Looks about right. EQ then rushed up and shouted, "What are you doing? Who allowed you to bully the dragon conquering heavenly sovereign?" He rushed up and grabbed the syringe, then threw it to the ground, pretending to throw a punch again, knocked Brother Hu to the ground. After a performance, soon Tiger G and the nurse were driven out of the ward. It's okay, Dragon Master. Those bad guys have already been driven away by me. The syringe has also been broken by me. From now on, we won't get injections anymore. Only then did the old man break into a faint smile. You are truly a good person. If it weren't for you, I'm definitely going to die today. I almost scared the crap out of myself just now. The dragon subduing heavenly venerable is being polite. We are good brothers. How can I stand by and watch you being bullied? Yes, yes, yes. Brothers must stand and fight together. Back in the day with my good brother, Fu Hu Tianzhen came this way. Then he turned to EQ and asked, "By the way, brother, haven't we officially paid our respects to Bazai yet?" So he followed the previous instructions. Fu Hu Tianzhen teaches his own process. Step by step, I bow to EQ. The man dressed up as the villain from the novel just finished paying respects to the old man at the mental hospital. The male lead has just arrived. EQ once again used his usual tricks, successfully won the favor of the old master. Just follow the previous steps and pay respects to him. We're almost at the last step. He looked at EQ and asked, "By the way, brother, did you bring the cup?" EQ shook his head. "Then let's eat directly. You go first." He reached into his pants and fumbled around. He pulled out a lump emitting warm steam. He was just about to ask what this old guy was up to again when the old man and I were moving at a speed hard to distinguish with the naked eye. The hot bun was slapped onto EQ's mouth. He instinctively burst into curses. Instead, it gave the old man an opportunity. In a fit of rage, he kicked the old man back a few steps. Crouching on the ground, I began to vomit desperately, almost threw up my intestines. Tiger G outside the door heard the sounds of a fight in the ward. He burst in with wide eyes. Then I felt a strong, powerful arm. He wrapped his arms around her neck from behind. He hasn't had time to shake it off yet. But the old man pulled out a lump of hot, fragrant food with his other hand. Stuff it into Tiger G's mouth. You came to form a brotherhood too, right? From today, let's make a vow together. The two stumbled and ran out of the hospital room, head straight to the bathroom. After washing for a full 10 minutes or so, the two of them nearly scrubbed the skin off their faces. Yishao, what should we do now? What else can be done? We definitely need to win this old guy over. Is this how it ends? EQ gritted his teeth and said, his biggest trait is that he never gives up. After regrouping, EQ took a deep breath and returned to the ward with Tiger G. But the old man shouted with a face full of dissatisfaction, "You two guys didn't stick together. We couldn't even complete the brotherhood ceremony. I ended up getting another shot." EQ forced himself to suppress his anger and said, "Dragon subduing heavenly venerable, even if we are not sworn brothers. That's also a friend, right? The nurse just gave you an injection with such a big syringe. If I hadn't stopped you, can you handle that shot?" After EQ said this, but the old man was taken aback and felt, "It seems like that's the case too. Since we are friends, then I'll help you to the end. How about you come live outside with me? Come to my place for good food and drinks without needing any shots." But the old man was so excited that he clapped his hands vigorously. "Then we are good friends. If someone hits me, Will you help me call back?" After a few words convinced the old man, EQ felt quite pleased with himself. This is a little nurse sneaking around. Ran into an office. Rolling her eyes, she scoffed several times. It is Tang Yu, who has specially disguised herself. He skillfully removed the wig. "Start changing back into your own clothes." Jumped down from the office window on the second floor. Quietly drove away from the mental hospital. After driving a certain distance, Tang Yu silently chanted to herself, "The dog system rewards your dad." The host successfully completed the storyline. Reward for top-notch disguise skills. According to the system's introduction, this thing is similar to a chameleon, able to blend into the surrounding environment for camouflage after activation. However, the time for disguise is limited. Disguise can last up to 5 minutes at most. Tang Yu murmured softly, "I'm a bit worried that the system will let me down." Simply started using it directly. It was only after using it that Tang Yu realized, "This thing works together with the clothes." It felt as if my body had become transparent. Completely blend into the environment of the car. Lin family, Hu Kei-chan and Lin Shanxi were sitting on the sofa with long faces. It feels like I've lost tens of millions just by stepping out. The atmosphere felt quite heavy. "Have you contacted Yiqiu these days? Did that bastard die outside?" Hu Kei-chen could no longer suppress the anger in her heart. Began to curse loudly, seeing my parents suddenly lose their temper. Lin Huangxi was somewhat surprised. "Don't be angry any more, Mom. I bought a small villa. Let's move out." Only by completely severing ties with Yiqiu, he can approach the Grand Sentinel with dignity. Heard there is a villa. Hu Kai-chun and her husband embraced, jumping and kicking together. After spending nearly half a day, the family of three packed their things and left. As for Yiqiu's belongings, they were left in the living room. The moving company's workers loaded the truck and departed about 2 hours ago. A new supercar is parked downstairs. Yiqiu stepped down from the driver's seat with a calm smile on his face. In a great mood, he walked to the door and took out his keys to unlock it. Then the person was dumbfounded. The room is empty. Only my belongings are left in the middle of the living room. There is still a piece of paper on top. We moved. This house is going to be sold in some time. Please take your luggage and find a place to stay as soon as possible. Farewell for now." Realizing the implication behind Lin Huangxi's words, EQ angrily tore the paper in his hand into pieces. The man has just transformed into the villain from the novel. Let the female protagonist have a mental affair. Lin Huangxi wanted to deepen her relationship with Tang Yu. Moved in with my parents. Cut off all ties with Yiqiu. At that moment, Tang Yu received the system's plot preview. It is about the main storyline of the Kai family. According to the system's storyline preview, EQ went to the Kai family today, completely filled with affection. Tang Yu immediately realized the problem. It really makes EQ have that kind of relationship with Old Master Kai or Kai Zinghen. The aircraft carrier Kai Jaya is completely tied to EQ. I need to go take care of Yun Jai's matter. Let's go and take care of it together. After murmuring softly, Tang Yu sent a message to Lu Jun. Let him prepare as well. Later, I will sneak into Kai's family with myself. Since the unfortunate incident at the morning assembly last time, Kai Jaya. Old Master Kai hasn't stepped out of the Kai family door for quite some time. Until today, he stood at the door of the Kai family, eagerly waiting. A black luxury car slowly came to a stop outside the Kai family's gate. The driver is Hu Ji. Now Yiqiu basically takes him wherever he goes. After a few people exchanged pleasantries at the door, Bai and Shu held hands and went into the house. The others in the Kai family held Yiqiu in much higher regard. Such closeness from the old man is rare. Who is this divine being? There was only an ordinary-looking servant, gazing with a strange look from the side. And this servant, it's naturally the chained Tang Xiao, still sitting beside him, one on the left and one on the right. Yiqiu simply embraced both sides. But to speak honestly, Yiqiu and old Master Kai seemed to be a better match. I would call it Romeo and the pig overnight. While Tang Yu was mumbling to himself, just playing in the living room, Yan Shishi's eyes wide open. With a casual glance, the young man swept his eyes across the living room, searching for the shadow of Tang Yu. Yiqiu, sitting on the sofa, was still unaware that danger was approaching. He slapped his thigh and said, "I almost forgot the gift I prepared for you. I just feel like something is missing." Soon, brother who walked in holding a box wrapped in black cloth, old Master Kai burst into laughter, holding the birdcage in hand with a gaze full of tenderness. "He once raised 8 of them. Treat him like my own son, staying by your side every day. Later, the 8 old ones died. He didn't raise them any more. EQ has investigated this old fellow. Deliberately catering to their preferences, I sent this 8." Seeing the satisfied expression of old Master Kai, EQ felt quite proud in his heart. He whistled at the 8 birds in the cage. Just shouted out. At the moment EQ shouted this sentence, Tang Yu touched the close-up wristband on her hand. Activate the ability to control the target's mouth. Of course, this time he is not controlling EQ, but the 8 in the birdcage. Old Man Kai. Old but, under the expectation of old Master Kai, the 8 birds in the cage shouted this phrase. At this moment, old Master Kai's expression changed drastically. EQ is also fierce. Hurry up and find an excuse for yourself. After the explanation, old Master Kai believed it about 70 to 80%. Given their friendship with Yi Qiu had no reason to discuss them. Then he instantly snapped back to reality. This is not a matter of birds at all. He recalled that time at the restaurant. Suddenly, I lost control and ate the 9 turn intestines. Still opening his mouth, speechless and babbling, he suddenly stood up from the sofa. A fierce, invisible killing intent radiated from the eyes. Not waiting for him to check who has a problem, a bodyguard standing at the door suddenly laughed twice and ran away quickly. EQ roared, "It's this bastard." After shouting, rush up to pursue. Hu Ji reacted after hearing that loud shout, quickly jumped onto a high wall, and started the pursuit. The speed of the 2 was very fast, but the speed displayed by that bodyguard was definitely not slow. The bodyguard jumped out after climbing over 3 walls. Next to it was a specially modified Harley motorcycle. He revved the throttle on his motorcycle. The motorcycle's performance instantly reaches its peak. The initial speed is even more exaggerated than those supercars. At the moment, Yi Qiu and Hu Ji climbed over the wall. The motorcycle has become a phantom racing onto the road. Don't forget to like and follow.